Hello everyone, this is Scott Hendrickson, part of the development team here at MindPlace, and today we're going to take a whirlwind tour of the Procyon Editor to show you how to create a simple stimulation session set to the length that you desire that targets a specific frequency. In this case, we're going to work with alpha frequencies ramping down to the theta range. So let's quickly take a look at how to do that and show you how easy it is to use the editor. So I have the Procyon Editor open here, and I'm just going to go ahead and create a new session so that we have our default settings and we'll have an easy place to work from. So the first thing we'll want to do is, as I mentioned, we're going to target alpha frequencies. So we'll set our first frequency of the red LED to 12, and we'll also set the end frequency to 12. Now let's go ahead and carry those settings across to the other LEDs, and we see that they're all active as we use each one of these LEDs in unison in the program. So I'm going to set each one of them to 12, and we'll keep the rest of the default settings here, full amplitude and in phase and all the rest of the settings, as well as the square waves. One thing we do want to change is we have the sound active. We'll go ahead and accept the 175 hertz pitch because that's a good mid-low frequency. That's rather comfortable. But let's change which channel is modulating the sound to red. Now what that does is that chains the sound frequencies on each side, sound modulation on each side, the left and the right, to the red channel. So whatever our frequency settings here are in the red channel, and what the shape of our waveform is what is modulating the sound. So now we're going to have a pulsing 175 hertz pitch that is pulsing at 12 cycles per second as tied to our frequency. So this gives us a good starting point from which to begin our session. Now one thing we'll want to do is change our segment length, and now it is currently set to 10 seconds, but let's go ahead and change that to 1 minute, and we'll do it numerically. Okay, so click away from the segment time into another box, and you'll see that our total time updates here to 1 minute. So we have a simple alpha frequency range track that's flatline now, just playing 12 hertz for 1 minute. Now if we wanted to extend the length of that without having to create additional segments, the maximum length on the segment editor that's available is 10 minutes. So if we were to change that to 10 minutes, then you'll see that now the total time is updated to 10 minutes. So this frequency range would play for 10 minutes. If we needed more time than that, what we would do is go to the loop control. It's available under the edit menu for loop control, or you can use the keyboard shortcut Control L. Let's call up our loop editor here. So the loop editor basically uses the first program segment, plays it through, and then begins the loop settings that we set. So if I set the start loop to be segment 1, these values are the segments, and finish on 1, then this one single segment is just going to continue to loop, and we'll set the number of times. So the maximum value for that is 32. And let's update that. Click in our segment time, click away, and then the total time will update. Now you can see that this is the maximum time available with a maximum number of loops for the maximum segment time is 5 hours and 30 minutes. Of course, much longer than we'll ever need, but that just shows you how quickly you can create very, very long programs just using one single segment set to its maximum values. But let's go ahead and get into more useful range. So I'm going to set it back to a minute, and just for the time being we'll take away our loop. So you do so by just deleting the values from the boxes, hitting update, click into the segment time, and away. Now, as I had mentioned, this was a just flat line segment going from 12 to 12. But generally, when you're creating stimulation programs, you'll want to start at a higher baseline. In this case, we're using a high alpha range of 12. When you close your eyes, you normally begin to produce alpha waves. For many people, that's around the 10 hertz area. But 12 hertz is a good starting point. But what we'll want to do is use that starting point and then ramp down to a frequency that is more in line with what we would want to use for the program. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and ramp down into the 6 hertz range, which is in the theta range. So I've set the endpoint to 6 hertz, and that creates a ramp. That's called interpolation between the start and the finish. Now let's introduce a new part of the editor, which is called the graphics editor. So by going to display, choosing use graphics editor, I entered the graphics mode. So the graphics mode shows you a visual representation of the lines in your segments, the settings that you've made, and we can see that the red frequency area here is set at the start of 12 and the ending of 6. So that was what was reflected in our text fields. Now we can also set values with using the graphics editor. So let's do that with the other remaining LEDs. So we're already at our beginning point, which is the 12 hertz start, and let's change our end point to 6 hertz. So all we'll need to do is just click the left mouse button to grab our value and pull it down. Now you can see that graphically it can be kind of hard to tune into the exact segment value that you would want. So an easy shortcut is you've clicked to reveal the number box at the top. Now it's showing 6.5. So see, if I pull it up and down, it reflects the value all the way up to 75 hertz. So let's get near our target frequency. We're wanting to go to 6. 6.2 is fine, and then use the arrow keys. You simply release the mouse button, go to your arrow keys. The segment is still actually selected, and in this case we'll just need to push the down arrow twice, which gets us to our 6 hertz. I can continue to do the down arrow or the up arrow to get within my range. It's going in tenths of a hertz, so that gets me to my 6 value. Click the mouse button again, and there we are. Our final frequency is set at 6 hertz. So that's set the green LED to match the red LED. And let's do the same thing with the blue. We'll do it very quickly so we can just get near our range and click down, click the mouse button again, and there we are. So let's take a look at the text editor to show that those values are reflected in the text fields on each one of the LEDs. Let me look at the blue again quickly. Somehow that got set to 6. Come up, hit our mouse button, go back to the text editor. Okay, sorry about that. That's set to 6 now. So now what we've done is we've created a ramp. So over this 1 minute period, the session, this segment of the session will start at 12 hertz and ramp down to 6 hertz over the 1 minute period. Now what we'll want to do is add more segments to our session. Let's say that we want to ramp back up at the end of the session. So let's go under Edit, hit Insert Segment, or you can use the function key F3 and insert another segment. Now reflected here, it shows that we have 2 segments that are available. So you're able to navigate between them using the slider here. So this is the first segment, and this is the second segment, reflected in the current segment number. So another thing to notice is that the software automatically reversed the values of the first segment to create a mirroring effect so that they beginning and end segments align perfectly. The end segment of the first, or the end setting of the first segment, and the beginning segment of the last segment. So let's look at the graphics editor to show that. So we'll start at 12 here, then we'll go to 6, and automatically the second segment was set at 6 and goes to 12. So they automatically align to each other here. That creates a nice perfect loop. Now oftentimes while programming the Procyon, just quickly also note that all three of the segments did that. Now when creating sessions with the Procyon, it's often useful to use pairs of segments for this very reason, that they mirror each other and match perfectly so that they can create perfect loops between each other. And that makes it a lot faster and easier to develop sessions. So let's go back to our text editor here, and let's look at the loop control for that. So now in setting the loop control, I have two segments, so I can loop between those. I'm starting on the first segment, ending on the second segment, and let's go ahead and just do that 10 times and update it. And then that will reflect our total time of 22 minutes. Now why 22 minutes is because it takes into consideration the value of the first segment. So it plays the first segment, in this case first loop, which is 2 segments. It'll play the first 2 segments, and they're 1 minute apiece, so that's 2 minutes. And then it'll begin the loop. We're looping 10 times of two segments equaling 2 minutes. That's 20 minutes. So that gives our total of 22 minutes. So when making your calculations of how long to set something to get the time that you need, take into consideration that there is one segment and then the loop that goes into play. But let's go ahead then and remove our loop for now, because we're just using it for demonstration purposes, and get back to our tutorial here. So having created 2 segments with a ramp down to a ramp up, let's go ahead and add a third segment. So to do that, we'll want to return to the very first segment, and it's reflected here in the current segment number. And let's add yet another segment. I'm going to insert a segment, showing now that we have 3. Now let's see what the automatic settings did for us on inserting this third segment. Now, as you can see, it matches the end and the beginning of the segment before and the segment after. Now in this case, they're both 6 hertz. So it created a straight line 6 hertz frequency. Very useful to ramp down to 6 hertz, stay at 6 hertz, ramp up from 6 hertz back to 12. So there is some intelligence in the programming of the editor here to make it easier for you to enter sessions. So that gives us a total of a 3-minute session. Ramp down, flat line, ramp back up. Now, having learned how to use our loop control, being sure that we have segment 2 selected, and another way to verify that quickly is you'll notice here in the drawing editor, the graphics editor, there are numbers above each one of the blocks in the segment. So if I select 1, that means I'm editing segment 1. Turn to the editor, this is segment 1. Pop back to the graphics editor, select segment 2, go back to the text editor. Now I'm editing segment 2, and so on and so forth. So it makes you very aware of which segment that's being edited, and you can do it two ways. Choose in the graphics editor or choose here in the slider. But we want to be sure, returning to our tutorial, that we are on segment 2. So we're going to use the loop control again. And this time we're just going to loop segment 2. And let's loop that 9 times. Click in our segment time and click away. Reduces the or updates the time. So now we have a total of 12 minutes available. So we have a segment that is going down. This is the first one segment, ramping down over a total of 1 minute to the mid section, which is playing the single 6 hertz flatline segment for a total of 10 minutes. And then the final segment is looping back up over a 1 minute period currently. So that gives us a nice stimulation session at 6 hertz over a 10-minute period. And we've quickly done that with just 3 segments. So ramping down half of the value from 12 to 6 hertz over a 1 minute period is rather fast. So let's go ahead and change this to 5 minutes. So now we're ramping down over a period of 5 minutes. And let's also do the same at the end. And we can also set it by the slider here. Okay, so that gets us pretty close. And now the first segment is for 5 minutes. The second segment is 1 minute, but it's playing the first 1 minute and then looping 9 times after that for a total of 10 minutes. And then the last segment is ramping up over 5 minutes. So that gives us a total session time of 20 minutes. Looking at it in the graphics editor, get a nice overview to see a ramp down, a flatline session for a total duration of 10 minutes, and then a ramp back up. Now this should be a nice session for us to target our go down from a high alpha into a theta range. And that's how easy it was to create on the Procyon Editor. And the sound is automatically following along with the red channel, so it'll be set in perfect sync. And that's really all there is to creating a very simple session on the Procyon. Just change the values here to what you like to reflect the stimulation frequencies that you would like to target, and you're able to customize that to your specific needs. And this is a very good skeletal structure on which to build sessions from. So that's pretty much it. We're going to go ahead and save this session, and we'll just name it Procyon Alpha to Theta, 20 minutes, and save it. And there we go. So really, hopefully this tutorial has demonstrated that the Procyon Editor is simple to use, and it'll show you not only the text view, which is good for rapid entry of values that you already know, or the graphics view to get frequencies set by dragging in a visual way, or to see the effects of settings that you've made in the text display. And hopefully that'll encourage you and inspire you to get involved in producing some segments for the Procyon and customizing them to your needs. Once again, this is Scott Hendrickson from MindPlace. Thanks for watching.